Hello everyone and welcome to another video. So today in this video I'm going to show you how you can solve the problem of your power filter not producing bubbles. So in this case you can see that this is my tank and there are 4 danios in this tank. At the moment it is a little bit dirty because I was just cleaning the glass, and I will also clean the bottom. As you can see there is some green algae growing there. So but you can see if you look at the filter is not producing any bubbles. If you look at the top, you can see that I've done everything right. The nozzle is also open and it is outside water. As you can see that this is outside water, it is connected to the filter, and still the filter is not producing any bubbles. If we take a look at the filter from the side, you can see the problem is that the filter is gunked up. As you can see the filter is really dirty, and because of that the filter speed is reduced. So every time when the filter speed or the water flow is reduced, the water will not be able to suck the air from this air tube and you will not get any bubbles. So in this case what you can do is you can either decide to lift the height of the filter. As you can see the filter is right at the bottom. If you take the filter up a little bit, you will see that it will start producing a little bit of bubbles. So as you can see, as I lift the filter up, it is making bubbles, and if I drop it down, the bubbles will stop. And that's because the water pressure at the bottom is very high. So the filter finds it very difficult to suck air from the atmosphere or from the top, because the water pressure at the bottom is very high. So if I let me show you again. If I lift the filter up, you can see that it is producing bubbles, but I don't want to lift the filter up. So let me show you what you can do. The only thing we have to do here is we are basically going to clean the filter up, and by cleaning the filter will be able to suck more water, and when the filter will suck more water, the water will flow easily, and the water speed will also increase, and that will help us get the filter producing bubbles again. So let us take the filter out and let us clean the filter. So let's take the filter out, and let me just put this mug on top of my tank because we don't want to spill the water everywhere. So let me just put it here, lift the filter up gently. Okay, so anytime you come across this problem when your filter is not producing bubbles, the first thing that you should look for is make sure that this end of your filter is outside water. Basically this is the end which sucks, through which the air enters through this pipe and enters the filter part. So if this end is also inside water, your filter will not be able to suck air. So make sure this part is outside water. Once you make sure that this part is outside water, you have to make sure that the air tube is not broken, or at least it is not broken inside the water. So if it is broken somewhere in the water, what will happen is again instead of air, the water will enter the tube and you will not see bubbles coming out of the filter again. So make sure your air tube is not broken. The other thing you can do is make sure this part of the filter, the air tube is connected properly here, because over time, because of mineral deposit and other minerals keep depositing on this air tube, the tube becomes really hard and it loses the connection from this point. So make sure it is completely snug and no amount of water can enter through the tube, because if this part is not properly connected, sometimes you will see you will not get any more bubbles from this tube. So make sure this part is properly connected to your filter. The other thing I've just mentioned, as you can see, the filter is completely gunked up, and because of which the filter speed is also reduced. So once we clean the filter up, I think we will be able to increase the filter speed, and again it will start producing bubbles. So let me just take out some of the aquarium water and clean this filter up. So first let me just open the filter up by rotating it like this. Your filter may be open a different way. You can see our filter is easy to spin. Make sure this part is easy to spin. As you can see, it is rotating without any problem. So that means there is no gunk stuck there. Let's keep it aside. Let's take our sponge out, press it like that, and as you can see the filter is so much dirty. So let me just clean this in some of the rainwater and then we will clean this in the aquarium water. So fill the mug with some rain water. Let's take this filter out, and as you can see, this is so much dirty. Let's wash it inside the mug. As you can see, the water became instantly cloudy. Now we don't want to throw this water because this water has a lot of nutrients. So what you can do is you can use this water to water your plants, and your plants will get a healthy dose of fertilizer using this way. Make sure you completely squeeze this a couple of times. So as you can see, it is looking much better now. Let me take some more water, and this time I will take some water from my tank. Some more fresh water. Again, give it a couple of squeeze. Try to remove any stringy particle if you can see some. So it looks comparatively clean. Let's clean the other part as well. And you can also use this sponge as a scrubber for your filter. So it looks clean. So let's put it all together, and also don't forget to clean the air tube as well. Take the air tube out and scrub it with the filter sponge as well. Or you can also put this air tube in the sun for for half an hour, and the sun heat will soften the air tube a little bit, and that will make sure that it makes a good seal with your aquarium. So let me just clean this up, put this under the sun, and clean the power head as well, the motor part. You can also use a toothbrush to clean this part, but I'm just using what I have at the moment. So let me just put this air tube under the sun, and we'll come back, assemble this up, and put this in our tank, and we'll see whether we are getting more bubbles or not. Okay, so I've cleaned everything up. I put this tube in the sun for a couple of minutes, for 10-15 minutes, and as you can see, it's a little bit softer. If you see that this end is still really hard, what you can do is basically you can use a scissor and cut the hard part down and start with the soft part, because the soft part will make a much better seal with your filter. Other thing I want to point out that in this particular filter power head, you can see that this part is completely attached to this filter nozzle, to this motor. So you can't rotate this, you can't take this part out, but there are some filter in which you can take this part out. So in this case we can't do anything about this, but I've got another filter. I will show you what you can do with that type of filter. So now if you attach it, as you can see, it is attaching much better. Make sure there is no leak. You attach it properly, and it is completely attached. Now let us assemble our filter. As you can see, the sponge is now completely clean. Put this back in the filter, align the nozzle, the notch with the filter part, and before we do that, let's take the other part out. Let's put this like that, and this should fit easily. So our filter is now assembled. Let's put this back in our tank and see how it is running, or whether it is producing bubbles or not. So I've got the filter here. Let's drop this inside our tank. And remember, previously the filter was right at the bottom, so again we will put the filter right at the bottom because we want to see whether we made any difference by cleaning or not. So I'm putting the filter at the bottom. So you can see the filter is right at the bottom. Let's rotate the filter in the direction we want. So the filter was facing in this direction. Let's plug the filter in. So as you can see, after plugging the filter in, it is producing a lot of bubbles. That means our solution worked. All we did was we cleaned the filter, and because cleaning the filter increased the water flow became a little strong, and it was able to suck more air by just cleaning the filter. And as you can see, we haven't changed the position of the filter. The filter is still at the bottom, so we did make a difference by just cleaning the filter. And as you can see, it is making a lot of bubbles now. Now there is another kind of filters available. Now we just looked at a filter which was the Sobo 850F, which was the smallest Sobo filter, I believe. And in that, this type of nozzle was fixed onto the filter, so we couldn't move it or rotate it in any direction. But in this particular case, this is the WP1200F, this is the Sobo WP1200F, and in this filter you can see that this part can be taken out and rotated in the other direction like that. Like that. So either you can put this like that, you can see, or you can rotate this and put this like that. So what is the correct way? Sometimes people put this wrong way and their filter stops producing bubbles. So let me show you, let me draw on a piece of paper and explain you what is happening here and how this air suction work in such type of filters. So I've got this notepad here. So you can see this is the drawing of our filter. So let's make a simple drawing. So this is the output nozzle of our filter, and here we have this part connected, and then we've got this power head, and this is the basic drawing of our filter, right? And to this part we will connect our air tube. Okay, so now we've got the basic design of our filter. So what happens is, when the pump is running, this is the pump. So when the pump is running, it is sucking water from these slits. It's sucking water from the bottom. There is a sponge inside there. The sponge, the water has to pass through the sponge, and when the water passes through the sponge, it gets filtered. The filtered water then comes up and then thrown back into your tank through this nozzle, right? And because this part is connected to this nozzle, and to this nozzle we've connected an air tube, and this is, let's say this is our water level. This air tube goes right outside our tank. So from the outside it sucks air. Because the water is going in this direction, the water creates a vacuum in this part, because the water is moving very fast. So it creates a vacuum in this part, and to fill this vacuum, the air inside the tube comes up and fills this vacuum. So because the air that was trapped here goes with the water and thrown back into the tank, which makes bubbles, the air from this tube again comes at the bottom to fill the vacuum, and this cycle keeps on repeating. So when the water is moving at a high speed, it keeps sucking the water with it, keeps sucking the air in the air tube with it, and then throws it back into your tank, which produces bubbles. And this is what we call the venturi system. But sometimes our air tube is broken. Let's say our air tube is broken somewhere here. As you can see that this tube is broken below the water level. So instead of air, the filter will suck water from the water, and you will not see any bubbles. If our connection is loose here, let's say the tube is not connected properly, and the water will again go from here, and instead of air you will not see any bubbles. All you will see is water coming out of the filter. So make sure this part is properly connected to the air tube, and this end is outside water, so that air can enter through this tube, and this tube is not broken anywhere in the water. If you make sure that all these things are correct, then the only thing the problem can be either your filter is dirty, so make sure you clean your filter properly. Once you clean your filter properly, the filter will start, the water flow of your filter will increase, and when the water flow will increase, the suction capability of the water that is going from this nozzle will also increase, and that will be able to suck more air from the air tube and will produce more bubbles. If you've done all these things and it's still not working, the chances are you've got a filter like this. I've just shown you in this particular filter, you get this type of nozzle which you can remove. In some filters you cannot remove this nozzle, but in this particular filter you can remove this nozzle. And if you look at closely, you can see there is a small cutting. The nozzle is cut at an angle. So if you look at this part, make sure the opening of this nozzle is facing that direction. So if this is the cut nozzle, you can see the opening of this should face the output of your filter. If you rotate this in this direction, what will happen is the water is coming from here, it will hit this nozzle, it will enter the nozzle, and you will see the water coming out of the air tube. So you will connect your air tube here. This end will go outside water. Basically it's supposed to be in the air, and this part is supposed to be connected in this direction, not in this direction. So if I put the filter like that, you can see the angle of this nozzle should be in this direction. The cut should be facing the output of the tank. So in this case you can see this is the nozzle and I'm putting the cut facing the tank. So if I put this properly, and now if I put this filter in my tank, it should be able to work and should be able to suck air. Sometimes people rotate this. If you look, we can see the opening of the nozzle. Sometimes people take this out and accidentally rotate this in the other direction, and now we can't see the opening of the nozzle, and instead of air coming out of the nozzle, what you will see that the water is coming out of this nozzle, out of your tank. So make sure this the orientation of this nozzle is correct. So this is how the air pump or the air producing feature of our power filter works, and this is how you can solve. And if your problem is still not solved, then I'm not sure what is going on with your filter. So there we go. This was my video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.